What's up, friends? Today we're going to be talking about my top 5 LGBTQ icons. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to be announcing something new that's happening in my life that I'm excited to share with you guys. So stay tuned. Let me just say I have nothing against the traditional list of LGBTQ icons. I love Taylor Swift. I love Jennifer Coolidge, I love Ariana Grande, and I feel like a lot of those people have done good for the LGBTQ community, but today I'm going to be talking about the people that have had the most impact on me, personally. And don't get me wrong, Jennifer Coolidge is literally one of my favorite actresses ever.
Colonel, you really are a saucy monkey.
First things first, let's talk about the Golden Girls. I never understood why so many gay men loved this show. As I've watched the show, and as I've read more about the show, and about the actresses in the show, it's very clear as to why this 80s to 90s sitcom about 4 old ladies is so popular among the LGBTQ community. Something that I'm going to be talking about in this video a lot that was also happening in the 80s was the AIDS epidemic. Over 20,000 people had already died before Ronald Reagan talked about it once in a press conference. It was unfairly targeting LGBTQ people, and that's part of the reason that it wasn't being addressed as swiftly and as promptly as it should have been. There are multiple episodes that address LGBTQ people, and one that addressed AIDS specifically. In one of my favorite episodes, Rose receives a blood transfusion, where they find out that she may be at risk of contracting AIDS. During the few days while they're waiting for the results to come back, there's a lot of tough discussions had between the women. One of the editors of the show at the time, Peter Bate, had been taking care of his partner who had contracted AIDS. And when the episode aired, one line stood out to him in particular.
AIDS is not a bad person's disease, Rose. It is not God punishing people for their sins.
He said this line made him burst into tears. And because of the way the world was at the time, I can't blame him for feeling like he might have been a bad person, or maybe that his partner was a bad person for contracting AIDS. Addressing tough topics in the show isn't the only reason I love these women, though. All 4 were outspoken advocates, which was extremely rare at the time. I'd say probably even more rare for women their age. While I could have put any of these women on the list, the one I chose was Bea Arthur. Bea was an advocate for the allyship Center, which is a center that takes in LGBTQ youth that have been thrown out of their homes because they're gay. She said, "I'll do anything in my power to protect children who are discarded by their parents for being LGBTQ." And she lived up to that. She hosted fundraisers, one of which rose over $40,000 in one day for that center. In 2008, the allyship Center hit a rough patch. It was during the recession, and one of their biggest advocates, Bea Arthur, had passed away. Due to an increase in demand and the hardships of the recession, the center didn't know if it was going to survive. But much to their surprise, they found that Bea Arthur had left $300,000 to them. Today, the center cares for over 2,000 LGBTQ youth and provides over 70,000 meals a year. Next on our list is pop star David Archuleta, who was also raised Mormon. Earlier last year, David came out as bisexual, and then just a few months ago, he posted a very emotional video talking about how he sees himself marrying a man. This video is one of the most relatable videos on the topic I have ever seen. In fact, after watching the video, my sister even reached out to me and said that many of the things that he said mirrored the things that I had said to her. He says, "There's so many other aspects to wanting to be in a gay relationship than just a sexual aspect. It's that connection. Are you thinking about only sex when you want to marry someone and share your life with someone? No." David continues, "You want to connect with them on an emotional level. You want to share goals with them. You want to do things together and to go out and eat or make breakfast or lunch or watch a movie or go on a walk together. There's so many other aspects to wanting to be in a gay relationship than just a sexual aspect. It's that connection that I had to pretend I could offer to those girls that I wasn't really feeling." Overall, in the video, David does a great job of illustrating the point that being gay isn't about sex. It's about connection and it's about love. Next on our list is the infamous Angela Lansbury. I grew up watching Angela in Bedknobs and Broomsticks and as Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. She also starred in one of the longest running crime murder mystery detective shows called Murder, She Wrote. Interestingly enough, Angela Lansbury's first husband, she later admitted was gay. His name was Richard Cromwell, and they married in 1945 and divorced in 1946. With how taboo divorce was, and for how shameful it was to be going through a divorce at the time, I can see why this experience may have made Angela bitter towards the LGBTQ community. But instead, she loved and stayed friends with her first husband the rest of her life. While the government donated a couple $100,000 towards AIDS research, Angela Lansbury single-handedly raised a staggering $1 million. At one point, the producers of Murder, She Wrote wanted to have a party for the 200th episode. Angela Lansbury told them that she wanted to forego the party and put the proceeds towards AIDS research. She even filmed informational videos to post before her Murder, She Wrote episodes that went over the facts with AIDS, which at the time the world was overrun with misinformation about not even being able to touch someone who has AIDS.
You may think you can't get AIDS because you're not in a high-risk group, but risk comes from what you do, not who you are. Get the facts.
I even remember seeing Angela Lansbury sing with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir as a child. Little did I know at the time, much of her life was spent in charity towards people like me. Next on our list is not a celebrity, but somebody who's had a significant impact on my life, Susie Ogenstein. Susie and Paul have an incredible podcast all about their lives in allyship. Their road to becoming LGBTQ allies is very unique. They had no personal connection to anyone in the LGBTQ community at the time. They have no LGBTQ children, neither of them are LGBTQ, and yet Susie believes she had inspiration from God in order to become more involved. She's volunteered for LGBTQ organizations, especially one called Encircle. On top of that, she hosts game nights for LGBTQ people all over the greater Salt Lake City area every Sunday. She's pretty much the mom to all LGBTQ people in Salt Lake City who don't feel like they have a place. She also hosts Sunday services for LGBTQ people who don't feel comfortable going to Mormon churches, where most of us in the Salt Lake City area grew up going. Her husband has also had significant leadership positions in the church, including being a bishop. Her and her husband set up a special church meeting specifically around creating an inclusive community where he had mothers and fathers of gay children and gay people themselves speaking to the congregation. After which they received calls and messages from around the world from people who felt like they finally belonged. Next on our list is more of a local celebrity in Utah. His name is Tom Christopherson. He's the brother of a Mormon apostle named D. Todd Christopherson. Tom also grew up Mormon and gay. He also wrote a book called The We May Be One, a story about his life in the church and his relationship with his family through his coming out process. This book is amazing. In fact, it helped my family and my parents and myself significantly in building bridges and coming to a place of understanding and love. He's a big part of the reason I have the goal to build bridges between the religious communities and the LGBTQ communities. There you have it, my top 5 LGBTQ idols. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I haven't been posting as much lately, and one of the biggest reasons is because it's very time consuming and it's a lot of work. And because of that, I can't spend as much time editing and filming videos. However, I want to change that, and that's why I'm starting a Patreon page, where I'm going to be uploading exclusive videos that aren't on my YouTube channel, as well as other content like downloadable photos from some of my shoots, and even some options for having video chats with me. But its main purpose is going to be to support my channel. For the first month, for every member that becomes a member of my Patreon, I'll be donating $5 to the Ali Fournier Center that I mentioned earlier in this video that helps house LGBTQ youth that have been disowned or kicked out of their homes. So if you'd like to support this channel, I'm going to drop the link to my Patreon page in the description. Thank you guys so much. Your support means the world, and I'm excited to share more of my life with you. Also, by the time this video is uploaded, I've already posted a video going over the honorable mentions that almost made this list of my top 5 LGBTQ icons. So head over to my Patreon if you want to know why George Clooney and Princess Diana almost made this list. Thanks again so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.